Hello and welcome to part 2 of S4HANA. What is it and how does it work? Again, we're going to be looking at operations and inventory management, and in part 2 here we're going to be looking at inventory views and postings. Just to recap on last time, when we take a look at where we came from, SAP obviously has started its journey through in-memory computing based on the HANA platform, and we are bringing together the HANA platform with applications and extensions and the user experience. Now, a lot of people have asked me, why are SAP doing this? And it's very important for us to remember that SAP has been around for a long time. In fact, if we think about it, it's almost 40 years old. That technology has moved on, and also so has the database. Now, just to give you a bit of an idea of where we're looking at with that, how many people remember these? These are our old favorites of the floppy disk. If you remember those back in the day. Now, there are two types of people that are looking at this in my hand right now, and some of them are looking at it with fond memories of disks crashing and trying to toggle the little things to put on the data protection. And the younger generation are looking at that and going, hey, that guy has a 3D model of the save icon. Isn't that cool? Because they've never experienced that type of technology before. So this is why SAP are reinventing and looking at S4 on a new platform with new technologies. So what does that actually mean from an inventory management point of view? Well, as we discussed in the previous video, we are taking a new data model and moving it across to the S4 data model with fewer tables, simplifying it, excuse me, and dropping the aggregates out of there. Now, that's great for inventory, but when we look across the whole system, or not the whole system, but in this case, SD through to finance, we can see that we have multiple SD tables, inventory tables, finance tables, etc. And when we pour that into S4, what we now have is a far simpler and easier system in terms of fewer tables, fewer things to look at, obviously making life a lot easier. Now, of course, with that, we also have this idea of principle of one, and what that's all about is simplifying the applications and processes to have a best practice way of doing things in all cases. And of course, that does mean that some areas have been simplified. Therefore, we have a simplification list, which allows us to see what has been changed within the system. The important point to remember as well is we've also changed our UI to make it both transactional and analytical at the same time. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like. Here I'm just going to go into my Fury screen here, and because we're talking about inventory, again, I could look at my inventory in a number of ways. Let's say I want to look at inventory turnover. I can use my turnover app. When I click on this, what it's going to do is show me where I've got high turnover and high value items, which I may want to investigate. So we can see across the bottom here, the x-axis is showing me the value and turnover on the y-axis. And you can clearly see the outliers sitting here. So I may want to investigate these. So I can select them and click on open, where we have little turnover on very high items. And again, I go straight into an analytical screen where I can see what's actually been happening with those items. Again, as before I mentioned, we could talk out, is it the right supplier now? Have we got the right things? But let's have a look at some other types of actual postings in the system. So let me just click on my home button here to take me back to home. Now, last time we looked at obviously going into tile apps, but again, think about the floppy disk generation versus the next generation coming through. They don't really think about transactions and things like that. A much more common way of using a user interface is to simply Google it. So let's have a look at what that looks like in S4. So what we do is we open up the search here, type in, let's say, a particular material that I may be having issues with. So I've got my trusty insert bits here. And as I type that in, what it will do is it searches the HANA database for everything to do with that particular material. Now you'll notice I didn't actually type in the full description of the material, but the HANA database has found everything to do with that particular material for me anyway. So I've now got material documents, purchase orders, materials, purchasing information records. Now, if I wanted to on my search, I could of course have selected what I want to search, but I didn't narrow that down, and that is why it selected everything that it could find for me. For instance, let's say I now want to do a purchase order goods receipt for that particular item. I could go to purchase orders, and here it will show me any outstanding purchase orders that are in the system. So maybe I want to do a purchase order receipt against that. So let me do that now. I can go to post goods receipt for that purchase order, click on this, and it will take me to a purchase order goods receipt screen. It's now saying to me, okay, do we want to add a delivery note or any other information to this? I may want to do that, I may not, depending on what you want to do. Do you want to, what was the delivered quantity? There's 39 available. I'll take 4 of those at this point in time. Did you want to distribute it across multiple areas or storage locations? I could do, I'm not going to in this particular case. And where do you want to actually put that? And as I click on the storage location, I can see that storage location 0001 has quite a bit of the stock already. So rather than putting it into a second storage location that is available to me, I'm going to put it all in the same storage location as it makes sense to do that. So I've now got my purchase order. I'm receiving 4 pieces into the storage location. I'll click on post, and what will now happen is it generates a material document. If I wanted to see that material document, I can simply click on the link. Otherwise, I can say, I'm happy that I've received those now, and now we can see we can move on. If I click on the back button, it will take me back to my screen as before. So showing there how we can search, go straight into transactions, and actually execute in the system whilst getting some analytics along the way. Let's have a look at a secondary way of making some postings in the system. Now, let's say I wanted to just see how much stock I've got. What I can do is simply go to a tile as opposed to searching for this. And I can click on my tile now, and it will take me to my stock area. And here I need to search for a material. So let's go again. As I type, you'll see the system is starting to find any relevant materials as I type. I don't know if you saw that flashing up there, but if I slow down a little bit, you'll be able to see that. Of course, I want my insert bits again, so I'll click on that line. And what it's showing me here is you can see my plant, P001, and my storage locations, which we saw before, and the quantities of both unrestricted and block stock. Now you'll notice down at the bottom here that I've got some little buttons, but they're not highlighted just yet. The reason being is I'm not actually doing anything, I'm not selecting anything. If I click on a line, you'll see the items now become selected because I may want to manage the stock or make a stock transfer within that selected storage location. And of course we get a little analytic telling us what the blocked versus the unrestricted stock quantity is for that particular area. Now, let's say I want to make some changes here. I've brought on those 4 insert bits, but something's wrong with them. I need to make some kind of adjustment. So I can click on Manage Stock, and what that will do is take me to the stock management screen. And what I can do here is I can actually change the quantities in those different areas if I want to. So let's say I need to scrap them because they're no good, but I've accepted responsibility from the vendor. So I need to click on this now, and what that will do is bring up a little dialog box saying, oh, okay, what is it you want to do with that stock for that area? And currently you have 2,489 of these. So what I can do is make an adjustment today. I could make an additional entry, but what I'm going to do is scrap them. Now, watch carefully what happens in the UI here when I select the scrap option. You'll notice that it immediately changes excuse me, to give me additional fields that are relevant to the transaction I'm doing. So I'm not having to enter or select from fields that aren't relevant to what I need. So it's now saying, because you're scrapping, you need to select a cost center. Okay, so let's select a cost center. That one's fine. And how many do you want to scrap? I'm going to do 4 of those, because those are the 4 that I brought in from that purchase order that turned out to be no good. And now I can post that, and again what it's going to do is it's going to give me a material document, and it's now made that posting in the system. Now, just for argument's sake, let's say that we've managed to fix those 4 items and they're actually okay. I change my mind. Well, I can simply click on that material document and it will take me into that particular material document. And just like any other material document, you can see when it was posted, when it was created, so on and so forth. But in this case, I've changed my mind, so I'm actually going to reverse this. So I can select it, click on the reverse button, and what that's going to do is allow me to enter a reason why I reversed it, whatever that happens to be, and click on OK. And again, it will post a material document for me in the system reversing this. I can click on OK. Now, if I go back to my home screen again, let's say I want to see everything that's happened with a material over time. So I can click on my material documents overview. So here I can see my material document overview, but of course I may want to restrict this to just today. So what I can do is simply click on my posting date icon, select today's date from this, and it will only show me material postings for today. So I select that now, just give that a click there, and what it's going to do now is filter the screen for me as soon as I click on the go button, obviously to only show me postings that happened today. So I can see here a couple of tests I ran earlier, and then bringing in my 4 from the purchase order, and then obviously changing those as I did some stock adjustments in here as well. So stock increase, stock decrease, stock increase as I increased it, scrapped it, and then reversed that scrapping. If I go back to my home button again, take me back to the beginning. If I wanted to do something like a stock transfer, for instance, I can click on my stock transfer app. And what that will allow me to do now is, again, just got to enter a plant and a material here because I haven't currently searched and selected one. So let's just do that again. Again, it will automatically select as I type. And here we can see again that I've got these items in 2 different locations and I've got them in 2 different stock statuses. For instance, if I wanted to change a status, I can click on this icon here and it will then not do anything until I tell it where to go to. So that go to could be the other storage location, or it could be go to blocked stock. So if I click on blocked stock now, it will now say, okay, you're changing this from unrestricted to blocked stock. How many? Let's just do the 1, and we can see it's 2,489 there. As I click on post, obviously that will give me a material document, and we'll see the quantity changed to 2,488, and obviously the block stock's gone up. Same principle if I was moving between storage locations and so on. So same principles apply, a very easy to use user interface. So just to recap, what we had a look at there is obviously the idea of reducing the number of tables, making things simpler and easier in terms of less data, quicker system, search it, and within the UI itself, transactional and analytical information in the same location, on the same UI at the same time. Now, for further information, if you have questions about the simplification list, please take a look at help.sap.com/S for HANA, and this will guide you to the simplification list where you can actually see what has been simplified in the system. I'm going to leave it there. So thank you very much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed the video.